Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Lunch and Learn series, last minute holiday marketing. My name is Tiffany, and I work with Triangle Artworks as a part-time with them as a program assistant. And I'm so happy to have you join us. I'm going to put a link in the chat if you want to know more about Triangle Artworks and the programming we offer. But I would gather that because you're here, you probably already know a lot about Triangle Artworks. I'm going to go ahead and let the panelists introduce themselves, and we'll start with Erica. No, you're still on mute. Oh, wait a minute. I have to unmute you. Let me do that. Thank all of you.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, awesome. So let me know if I sound all right. I'm trying to use earbuds today because I think it'll be better. But anyway, my name's Erica Stankwich Bailey, and I am a jeweler out of the Asheville, North Carolina area. I've been in business for about 20 years almost. And I'm really excited to be here and talk with you guys about marketing today with this excellent panel of amazing women entrepreneurs. So that's cool.
Thank you. So happy to have you with us, Erica. Liz, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Liz Kelly. I'm a studio potter in the Raleigh area, city of Raleigh, and I've been really going at it full time for about 7 years. And this is such a useful panel because I feel like we may all be a little bit rusty after the last couple wild years. So I appreciate the refresher even to myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Liz. Lysandra, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Lysandra Weber. I am the owner and designer of Geek Chic Fashion, which is a modern women's apparel company based in Pittsboro, North Carolina. My background before I started this business 9 years ago was in marketing. So I have a degree in marketing and I worked in corporate marketing for many years. So this panel is like a combination of my two happy places, making and marketing.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I wanted to give everyone a little bit of background. We have some questions we're going to ask our panelists, and then we'll leave it open towards the end of the session that you can ask questions. Feel free to, if you're brave enough to raise your hand, you can ask them directly, or if you prefer, you can put them in the chat, which might be a little bit more efficient. So we'll get to that towards the end of the panel. But we'll go ahead and get started with some questions for our great panelists here. One question that we had is, if you had 15 minutes per day, roughly, for holiday marketing, what is the one thing that you would do like right now, considering where we are? So I'm going to have Liz start that off.
So I guess to do anything in just 15 minutes, I'd already have to have a plan in place. And I feel like the beginning of October is the perfect time to chunk out your fourth quarter, get a plan. And then that way, every day in 15 minutes, I can just think about like the Instagram posts I'm going to make that day to kind of just keep cycling through the ideas I'm pushing for this holiday season. But it would take that plan to just spend 15 minutes.
Right, you'd have to get it prepared ahead of time. Yeah. Erica, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I mean, I think Liz said it really well. You really do have to have a plan. And to me, the language that I would use is that story that I'm trying to tell, right? Everything that I wanted to say for the next couple of months. And when I have that, it helps me generate quick ideas, because I'm like, oh, I wanted to talk about process a little bit here. Oh, I want, for me, I want to talk about this gemstone because I'm really going to do a lot. And then that helps me decide the content that I'm going to share. And then when I read the question, one of the things that I thought about too was just documentation, photography, however you're sharing, right? Making sure that you're spending a little bit of time every day doing that. And then when you need to write that post, like Liz said, you sit down and you open up the phone or whatever you're doing, and you've got some content that's there for you to use.
Yeah. Lysandra, do you have any more to add?
I will if you don't have a plan, this 15 minutes would be a great time to start working on a plan. So like give yourself a timer, and like the first, if it's like if this is the first time you're thinking about like what you're going to do for holiday, like list out all the things that you want to do for holiday. And then the next day for 15 minutes, think about one specific piece of that. So like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Think about what's my offer going to be.
Yeah, I think that's actually, good. I think, we're all busy this time of year as artists. And so I think sometimes it can be overwhelming to think about that part. So like you said, set a timer and carve out that time, and then have a plan ahead of time is very good tips. So let's move on. So thinking about this plan, and now that we have about 80 something days of shopping remaining before the holiday season, we're like actually in the midst of it right now, right? Is there a way, have you thought about, or is there plans that you've done to help increase your sales for the holidays, or the things that you've done specifically from a marketing perspective? You can start that, Lysandra.
Yeah, let me know if I freeze or anything too. I like building up your email list is really important. I know that the common conversation in marketing can be that email is old school, but email is like the one place where you actually own your customers. Like you don't have to worry about the algorithm. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Like you have your customers in your own database. So like work on driving people to join your email list, like doing mini promotions where only your email subscribers know, so that it encourages people to sign up for your email list. I think that's like a really important thing to build that list in anticipation of holiday marketing.
Erica, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say I would agree about email and using that email list and making sure that you're letting people know what your intentions are. And that would be my next point, is if you have intentions, you're going to do a little release here, you're going to do this event here, you're going to do this website launch or this online sale or whatever you're going to do, is letting people know in advance that you're going to do those things, and so that they can anticipate it and be there and be looking for the information that you're going to do. So maybe that's also me saying, right, maybe plan a little something for the holidays, a little quick online Instagram sale or a little collection release, because what it does is it gives you some really good stuff to talk about as well when you're doing that marketing. So I create events for myself, sometimes small, right? But I create events for myself because it gives me something to work towards, both production as a maker, but also in my attempts to market.
Okay. Liz?
I want to call back like to the fact that there's like 80-ish days, and I think about how, I'm always trying to spread it around a little bit so it's not all in that last month. And so in October, what I think about is putting people's focus where I want it, so that I'm getting my best customers, my really loyal customers, in the door earlier and working on their stuff before I'm turning and burning. So in October, I like to offer pre-order opportunities for the holidays, and something like fun and customizable, and that appeals to the type of gift giver that's more premeditated, the people that like that's their love language and they go all in on gifts, whereas everybody else is going to hit you up late November, early December. So thinking about different types of customers and what I can do like on their timeline to make my year go a little bit like less like congested at the end.
Yeah, I think that's actually really smart. And kind of piggybacking on that, this is kind of like a way that you kind of offer a special or a promotion or give special attention to your existing customers. And I think Erica kind of pointed that out too, because, it's easier to, we know that it's from a marketing perspective, it's easier to sell to that existing customer than to gain a new one. are there specific things that you offer? I know, Liz, you talked about kind of giving people that information ahead of time, but Erica and Lysandra, if you could speak to, are there specific kind of promotions that have worked for you or that you kind of think about offering around the holidays to your existing customers?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't like to do percentage off discounts. I mean, I do it once a year for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I try to do it once a year. Sometimes I'll throw in a little tiny one every now and again, but I try to stay away from it as much as possible. So I do a lot of free shipping. People love free shipping if you don't already have it on your website. And buy one, get one like situation. So those are two promotions that work well for me. I also do virtual markets. I try to do them once a month. So for me, that's, I can't always go out and do markets every weekend. So having a virtual market allows me to engage with my customers on social media and email. And sometimes there's no promotion. Sometimes it's just free shipping. Like it's the same as shopping with me in person, except for online. You don't have to go anywhere. And like telling that story, like it's the same for you as if you were shopping with me in person, and I'll just mail it to you and you don't have to worry about it. So those are sort of things that I use during the holidays. And also I'll throw in there, if you're doing a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, like that week is really busy and congested. Like Liz said this, very congested with other promotions across the board. So like thinking about maybe doing a sale a couple weeks earlier and instead or in addition to what you're doing during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So it gives your customers who are loyal to you and following you an opportunity to shop earlier.
I do. And in that same sort of idea of giving little opportunities.
Get back to the idea of get back to the idea of that virtual sale, but okay, you can go ahead and ping in Erica. That would be great.
Yes. Sorry if I cut you off. I think I might be on a little bit of a delay. Is right. Like I do a lot of little mini collection launches where like Lysandra said, I'm not giving a discount. I may offer free shipping, but it's like trying to make sure that my online customer gets that same experience as my in-person customer, where here's this work that's coming out to you first. It's available. I definitely will do an email about it. I might do a little live show and tell on Instagram Live or something like that. But making sure that, and they know that it's ready right now work, right? It's not work that's going to be made to order. It's work that's ready to, to purchase right now, and I'll ship it within a couple of days. So I think those kind of little events can help as well.
I think Tiffany might be on.
I think it's Tiffany. I was like, am I frozen?
You're not frozen. Oh no. Do you guys have any questions for us as we wait for Tiffany to come back?
That's great, Lysandra. Tiffany will be right back. I know she will. So
I got kicked out for a sec, but I'm back.
We had some
someone else was
freezing.
using the device, but that's fine. Yep, let's continue on.
We're good, Tiffany. I think we finished up with that question. Liz,
Okay.
did you freeze up when you were saying anything?
No.
Okay, good. All right. Let's see here. These are all really good discussions. And if we have the guests, the participants to remember to drop your questions in anytime. You don't have to wait till the end if something comes to mind. If you're like me, you have to write it down before you forget it. So go ahead and drop that in as we're going through this. I think one of the things Lysandra talked about was your email list and your email marketing. Can we talk a little bit more about that? Maybe, how do you use that differently during the holiday season? Do you increase like your frequency of emails to your email list? Do you use that in conjunction with other things? How do you use that specifically differently if you do during the holidays?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things in thinking about planning is more like planning out for me what my Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Shop Small Saturday is going to look like. So I send an email a week in advance of all of that to let people know what's coming, just like Erica mentioned. And then every day for each of those promotions. And when I do a promotion during the holiday season, I send an email in advance of it and an email on the day of and an email on the last day. I know that people feel like people get a million different emails and don't want too many, and you will get some unsubscribes, but that's okay. But sometimes people wait till the end, and if you don't remind them that it's the end, they won't take action and purchase. And then thinking about what I do in conjunction with that, a customer needs to see something 3 times before they remember it. So I tie in my social media posts with the content from my email, and I post stories about it in Instagram, and mine are tied to Facebook. So like making sure that throughout the course of whatever promotion it is leading up to the holidays, I have both stories that align with it and Instagram posts that align with it. And then having the emails coincide. So just tying it all together so it's like one integrated program, not just like a one-off email here, a one-off Instagram post there. And that's why that planning comes in handy, because then you know what content you need to create that all ties together.
And I do want to just, oh, sorry, I'm getting excited now, but I just want to say to what Lysandra just said, like, that's not 3 completely different bits of content, right? It's really one that you're just distributing slightly differently so that you're making sure that people get their eye on it, right? I hope I didn't cut you off, but I just really wanted to say you're not, right? Like, wouldn't you agree? It's not like you're asking people to create a ton of content. You're just saying, make sure to share it.
Right. One picture, go in Canva, resize it for different purposes, and like, you're good to go.
Yeah.
I
Do you have
appreciate y'all
anything to
making
add
it
to that,
sound
Liz? Yeah.
so doable. And sometimes I'm self-conscious about repetition, but I do notice like different styles of customers really respond differently. Like I've got my email loyalists that thank me for sending out emails, like my
So
Facebook
true, Liz.
loyalists. So just remembering it might feel like nerdy, but you just do it. And then your customers appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Definitely, because I think we have to keep in mind that, just as you said, like everything that you're sending out is not going to hit every audience. And so it may seem like you're repeating the same information, but everyone's not seeing it 3 times. Like they may only see it that one time, depending on what they follow and what is kind of their, their vibe about how they shop. Some people do shop mostly on Instagram. A lot of people shop via what comes in their email box. So that's a really great point. Another thing is when you think about if artists, if they should tie their special promotions or anything to like events they might be doing, because I know all of you. I've seen most of you at markets at some point. So I know the 3 of you do markets, and I know that a lot of people do markets. If not any other time of year, they may do a few during the holidays. So do you think it's smart to kind of tie any of your promotions to any events that you're doing?
It's a good question. I don't. It's for me, it's a different customer that shops with me in person sometimes. It's usually people that aren't necessarily familiar with me, so maybe haven't seen my Instagram posts. I will say I have tried to say, if you see this post, bring it to market and you get a discount. Nobody ever uses it.
Right.
I've tried, but maybe you guys have a different experience than me on that one.
Like back to like the different types of customers, I definitely have customers that only shop online, and then ones where if they know there's an option to come see me in person, they want to know about that so that they maybe don't pull the trigger before they get the shopping experience that they want. So I don't like to send a lot of emails, and I appreciate that Lysandra's like is more of an emailer, because that encourages me to lean in. But I plan like maybe 2 emails in the 4th quarter. One of them is going to be like, here's all my events. And one of them is going to be like, hey, my web restock's live. and
Mhm.
reminder stuff. So I like to, just so people have the information, because I'll get like, oh man, I wouldn't have done this if I could come see you in person.
That's true.
Same. I definitely let people know. I don't know that I like, I'll try. When I send my emails, usually about no more than 2 months for me, but I always have a little 3 column at the bottom that's like the next 3 things that are coming up. And those 3 things might be markets, but they also might be, like I said, one of my self-created events, right? Just to kind of build people's knowing about what's coming next. But yeah, if I'm going to go do a show or a market, Tiffany, I'm definitely going to try to post about it, because exactly what Liz says. I have a lot of customers who were like, thanks so much for letting me know that thing was happening. I didn't know it was happening, or I'm so glad I knew you were going to be there. So for me, that's just a little, and it's something for me to talk about, when I'm posting, other than here's the work. And I like that. I like something to help me say something a little different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'll also throw in there that I do emails once a week normally, just so you know. I'm I guess a heavy emailer, I don't know. But I've had customers tell me at markets that they appreciate my emails and they don't feel like it's too frequent. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think, for me, I have vacillated so much about how much emailing I do. It's never been a lot, not so much. I think, like Liz, maybe I need a little bit of confidence, like to feel, but it's also just been like, do I have enough that I want to say each time? But as I've been working on building a plan more, I do have more. And so like, I have all these newsletters now that are kind of in the works for different things that are happening. I'm like, when I do a big collection launch, I certainly will send at least 3 emails that are connected to that event. So yeah, I think, and I don't know about you guys, and then I'll be done, but like, there's a lot of artists that I'm on their email, list, and I love it when I get their emails. It's interesting and it's fun, and their beautiful photography and all of those things I can appreciate it, certainly as another maker. So I don't think you should be afraid to send a lot of emails if you got stuff to say,
Yeah,
work to share for sure.
absolutely.
and we all have stuff to say.
That's right.
And we may say it more than once, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell me a little bit about some of these things. We talked about email, and I know we all use different tools, but tell me some of your favorite, like what are some of your favorite marketing tools these days? Some things that are like what you always use.
Canva. Use Canva if you don't use Canva. Unless you are an artist, like we're all artistic people. Like designing Facebook posts and Instagram posts and emails is that's not my trained skill set. I make clothes. And so Canva allows me to do that relatively easily. And it allows me to alter and repurpose content that I've already made. So at this point, I've been using Canva for years and can easily like modify things I've already created. So I'm not always starting from a blank square. Later is also good if you like pre-programming and pre-populating your social media posts and things. And I'm a MailChimp user from way back. So I know I think somebody had a question about MailChimp or
we'll come back to it. I think I saw that too come in.
Yeah. So that's mine.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Canva for sure as a tool in the background, for sure. I mean, I don't think I'm going to say anything otherwise that's really transformative. I mean, I use Instagram like crazy, and I had really leaned very hard away from Facebook for a long time because Facebook is not my personal friend, right? Like it, but I'm realizing lately that Facebook actually generates a lot of engagement for me, and I get a lot of conversation there, probably due to maybe the age of a lot of my customers. I mean, who knows, right? Not who knows. I mean, there's plenty of things that we can think about.
Right.
And then, yeah, email. So, but having that Canva tool in the background to, like Lysandra said, make posts that you feel good about and work on your images a little bit if you need to is really helpful.
Mhm.
I've messed with some reel templates and I like them. I'm gonna be the first person to bring up reels.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, reels for sure.
Yeah. I have like a policy of not being overly trendy because I want to keep authentic and be fun. But sometimes having that template, which you could think of it just like a Canva template or just like a MailChimp template, it does the thinking for me, so I can just like plug and play and be and get like a nice result.
Mhm. That's great. That's a great
On that
tip.
note, can I throw, sorry, Tiffany. Two other apps that relate to Reel, well, one relates to Reels is CapCut. It's an app. I don't know if they have an Android version, but I make videos in CapCut all the time, like the kind where you like snap your fingers and you're wearing a different outfit. Like that allows you to do that relatively easily. And then Color Story, which is a photo editing app. Also, photography is not my sweet spot, but I still have to take photos of things. And Color Story allows me to edit it for color and clarity very, very easily.
Mhm. Mhm. Awesome. So we'll try to list those out in the chat. If not here, we'll get some of those tools listed when we post this on our YouTube channel. Let's see. Has the way that you market and promote yourself, like particularly, during the holidays and post-pandemic, has that changed like prior to COVID? Have you done things a little bit differently than maybe what you did before COVID?
For me, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't really use, I barely used social media at all prior to COVID. And when I started to see, when we all started to experience shows closing and things shutting down, this is what I do for a living, right? So I had to very quickly flip my script and figure out what was going to be next. And so one of the things that I love about what I do and what I think most of us do is the human connection that we make with customers and getting to meet them and getting to know them and then getting to know me, right? And so I just very quickly shifted into like, how do I still meet people?
Yeah.
Right. And for me, that became a lot of on like Instagram Live and a lot of like really trying to be available in a way that, if I'm being honest with you guys, was utterly outside of my comfort zone, like in ways that I still sometimes am like, I cannot believe you did that, but yeah, so a huge shift. And to not take up too much time, one of the things that happened for me, which I think Liz hit on earlier, was that I got customers from all over the country when I started doing that, customers that had never seen my work in real life or me in real life. And that made an indelible change in the way that I approached my availability to my customer, because some of those people were what got me through those years that we didn't have shows. And so making sure that I stayed available to them in a real way, like Liz, like authentic, real me, my work, new work, yes, but what's happening in the background and all of those kind of things. So, I mean, such a big shift. It's kind of mind blown.
Yeah, I didn't even have a website before the pandemic, and it took me maybe better part of a year to build one out. And this is also my full-time living. So like I share, like, thank you for saying all those vulnerable things about like really appreciating your customers and giving back to them because they got you through. And yeah, I feel like, how can I do my best? Like they showed up for me, like, how can I show up?
Exactly.
And it's like it's a lovely motivation to have.
Yeah.
Like what could be better?
Yeah.
I love that. It's interesting for me. I feel like I pivoted during the pandemic in the way that I communicated with my customers. And then now that the pandemic is over, it's gone back to how it was, almost. I still do virtual markets, but which was a product of the pandemic. But it's still, it's there. I guess what I'm saying is like I had a foundational marketing and communication engagement with my customers, and that remains. Like I have always done the emails and social media, and continue to do so. I will say that the landscape evolves, and you have to evolve with the landscape. And I think doing reels has been an evolution. And I think that has, because of the nature of reels, has forced me to be in front of my customers in a different way. So like showing people what I'm actually wearing versus like just posting pictures of my models. And like, just like interacting, like Erica said, like you have to be available and like present for your customers. Like I talk to more people in DMs than I did before, because people have questions. People want to know how things are going to fit. They want to know what it's going to look like on their shape of body and things like that. And before, it was sort of just a post, and I guess that has grown since the pandemic. But the foundational marketing pieces for me has stayed the same.
Excellent.
One thing I'm hearing that I just want to acknowledge is that we're all doing more. And I think that it's important to acknowledge, because we have diversified and we have learned, and now we're all doing more. And with that, I feel a little bit more protective and like have like boundaries around my time, while engaging on like lots of different ways.
And I was going to ask more about that. You guys have given us such great information and content about what you're doing, and maybe some things that you've done differently and some things you've done the same. About how much time do you think you spend on doing marketing efforts or tasks, like versus actually making the things, about roughly, do you sit down and think about that? Of course you do if you plan for it, but is it what you expected? Or can you give a little bit of insight on that about how much time you spend?
I mean, I probably spend one day a week working on marketing, but not like one actual day, right? Like it's a couple hours here, a couple hours there. The nature of my business is that when people order things, I make them. So they're not made in advance. So the flow of making depends on the flow of ordering. So I have to have a very flexible schedule in that way. So sometimes I program my emails while I'm on my walk in the morning. You might want to keep that part of your life separate, but that's what is working for me right now. But I think over the course of it would add up to about an entire like working day, scheduling posts, programming emails, responding to DMs, planning for the future, that sort of thing.
I just want to like really hold on to you for a second, and for including like all that communication like Liz talked about. That is part of the job of marketing. All of the answers that you give, whether it be DM or text or email or Facebook message, like just keep it up. Like my custom order forms now have a spot where I mark how they communicated with me, because there's so many ways that you can get lost in the world, right? So I do think we do give a ton of our time to that marketing, especially when you give that full picture. I just wanted to thank you for making sure to say that is part of that marketing story, right? As being the communicator. For me, I don't know that I can quantify, is that the word I want to use exactly? I probably, maybe because it would scare me. It's a lot sometimes, and it's not as much sometimes. I have found that when I finally allowed myself to do more planning, that I really do feel like it takes less of my time when I've kind of planned it out and I know what I'm looking. Because I don't know about you guys, and this is very honest of me, but I could sit down in front of my phone, right, to try to do a post and spin my wheels for like this ludicrous amount of time to try to figure it out. And when I created a plan, that helped me sit down with some intention, and then I could, and for me, like, maybe kind of like Lysandra, but different. Like, I will work crazy in the studio, just head down, dogged for a really long time. And then I might emerge and then market really hard for like, take 3 days that I don't work in the studio at all and really work on photography, because that's part of it as well, right? And all of those things. So I would say that it is also, sometimes it's kind of regular, and then I'll have these really big dips and dives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think marketing is like in my making cycle now, where I make, finish, take it in, document it, and then I'm ready to talk about it.
That's right.
And I really consider that documentation phase for the making cycle. But man, those customer service emails, they are really good marketing. And sometimes I underestimate them, but oh man, that's a lot of time. I was going to say 15% of my time. And now that y'all have brought up what marketing is actually, I'm like,
you're like, no, it's 75.
Like 20. Yeah, like,
probably a lot more
do
than
I
what
make
you think,
anything? I don't know. I think it is. Yeah. And I think it sneaks up on you because it is sometimes rewarding. Like, it's enough of like a carrot dangle that you're like not tabulating all the time.
Absolutely.
As a design student, it was really useful for me to hear other business owners and like people behind brands talk about these numbers things. And it makes maybe other people feel better about leaning into it. Or, I want to say about time. I like to tell myself it's easier just to do the thing or worry about the thing, because worrying about the thing is going to take all my time, and doing the thing is going to be like pretty easy. Like, do I want this on me, like making me feel bad, or am I just going to do the thing? That's like my marketing parent to myself.
Like it.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, I think we will, this is all, again, the great information. I think we'll move on and try to entertain some of the questions that are in the chat now, if you don't mind. So I know there's a question about MailChimp, and I think I know Lysandra uses MailChimp. I don't know if Liz and Erica do, but the question is from Caitlin, and she's frustrated with MailChimp, and she thinks that the messages are going to spam filters. That's her impression. Do you use services like this, or do you just use group email? So I think you guys said you use MailChimp. And so is there any insight you could give about messages like that are coming from MailChimp and going into spam filters and maybe her subscribers boxes and email boxes? Anything specific about that maybe you've experienced or have figured out?
Yeah, some of your messages will go to spam filters, the nature of email. But your open rate, I mean, my open rate right now is in the 40s, and which is really good.
Very good.
You want to aim for like in the 20s. If it's not in the 20s, you have to make a change in your subject line, right? Like, that's the thing that gets people to open the emails, is what the subject line says. Short, sweet, to the point. If there's discount, put it first. Numbers, like actual numbers, not the word number, are eye-catching in email. And it is frustrating, but it is more professional to have a MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever email than it is a Google group email. Like, people will take you more seriously as an artist if you use an email provider versus like sending a group email. That might not be what you want to hear, but hopefully it's helpful. MailChimp has a ton of good templates. Canva also, like, you could put one Canva image that you've designed and a paragraph of text and call it an email. Like, I'm not saying create anything super fancy.
But definitely, right. I mean, I would say definitely create a template in MailChimp so that you you're just popping in your, you know, your information. You're not reinventing that wheel every time, or have a couple if you want things to like knock out and look differently every once in a while. But
Right.
that is a huge time saver.
Right.
And
And those things like that Lysandra was saying, open rate and all of those insights you can get, you can't really get that from a Google group. You don't really be able to gather that information from your customers by using the Gmail groups. So
yeah. And I would just say,
the
like,
analytics are
you go, Liz, because you were staying on track.
I with email, I did have to set up like an email through my website to avoid spam folders. I remember MailChimp guiding me in that direction. So when a MailChimp tells me to do something, I do it. So I don't know if that's a challenge somebody's facing. So not using a Gmail account, using lizkellypottery.com as my email. So I had to upgrade.
That's phenomenal points. I was just going to say that to Lysandra earlier saying you might get some unsubscribes. I can't speak to the group of you, so I can only speak to the people who interact with the world like I do. That's something that could really be heartbreaking for me at one point, right? Like I would be like, oh my gosh, what have I done wrong? That one unsubscribe would send me down this like spiral of, oh God, I'm dead, you know? And just the reality is it's just not like that, right? And somebody didn't unsubscribe with hatred in their heart from your email list. You know, maybe they're just feeling overwhelmed, or they're doing a clean out or whatever. So even like, maybe don't even pay attention to that kind of thing, right? And just do what you're doing and give people that wonderful information that you're trying to give them, and armor yourself a little bit against the ways that we like to let one little prick blow out our little, you know, hearts.
yeah,
So true.
totally. Yeah, I mean, I often do that anyway, like with, you know, sometimes your email box will recommend things you should unsubscribe to. I don't know if people have seen that.
Yeah.
Things that you have gotten busy and you just haven't been able to open those emails, you know, and they're like, hey, you're not enjoying this content, you know. So that could be what happened with the person too, right? Let's see. Jean asked, how do you collect your emails? I've moved to a new state and need to build a local customer base. So what are some ways that you guys collect emails for your subscriber list?
I just recently put subscribe on my homepage. Because I'm not going to shows. So, and now I feel like customers are getting savvy to what, you know, the landscape. They're educated to it, and they know that if they like handmade goods, like how algorithms work. And I'm getting emails through that. I know also you can import, you know, all your like Square transactions. If people put emails in, you can import that into your MailChimp too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great tip right there, is putting a pop-up on your website or a sign-up box on your website that says subscribe. Doing that, you'll get many emails just from doing that, and you don't have to do anything else. I am doing markets still, and I have old school, literally a piece of paper that says sign up for my email list. I also have a QR code because, like, trying to evolve with the times, I've had like 3 people scan the QR code. Everybody writes their name on the list.
Yeah. And I mean, a certain show, right? I could get pages of emails, just depending. Like sometimes I'll get 3, like people aren't into putting their name down on my thing, but then sometimes I'll get like pages. So that old school list, and totally the subscribe on your website.
Pro tip, if you do that, put your name and email address at the top of it. So people know, so it's not just a blank sheet. Like people need to know that somebody else has started writing on it.
Right.
I have always done like Sue Smith, like sous chef. So I put Sue Smith, and then Sue, you know, Sue Smith at anyway, Middle Smith. That's my dork coming out.
One person on
I'm
it.
real proud of that. Yeah.
I love that. Oh man.
And you can also, I will say, you can do Facebook and Instagram ads to collect emails. It's probably not the most cost-effective way to collect emails, but if you're in a new market, it could be worth trying. So like doing an ad that is focused on telling people about who you are since you're new and geographically targeting it. And then instead of having the button be shop now, be like join now instead. If you're in a new place, that could be a good way to like start the ball rolling.
I haven't done this, but I want to do this. I want to do previews for like when I do an online restock for email subscribers. So like I email out a password and they can access the preview, and then they're really like feeling a reward, like they really got something for giving me their email in exchange. So maybe thinking about like the transactional nature of giving somebody your email and like what are you giving them?
That's a great point. I did that during the pandemic and I try to still do it. It's hard to keep doing it. It works super well. And you can use it as content leading up to it. Like you tell people that they're going to get to see this collection early. And the people who want to see it early will subscribe to your email list because they're like, oh, let me get in on that. You know, and providing that value is great. That's a great idea, Liz.
Yeah, and it provides like a sense of urgency that may or may not be there. I'm going to say I'm not the kind of potter that sells out when I do my web restocks, but also I think I make a lot of pottery. But it creates like a momentum leading up to it. There's less like pressure of like, oh my God, is this going to sell in 5 minutes? I lost my thought.
No, it's the transactional nature of them getting to see it and live with it a little bit. This is the gift, right? In the beginning of like, here's that thing for taking your time, for sharing with me. I'm going to share back. And I think it feels good both ways, works both ways. And
And having content that's only available to email subscribers, like they get a little extra of you because they're part of your community.
Yeah.
And I like try not to call my subscribers when I'm talking to them. Like it's a community. We've created a community of people, and I like to talk about them to them in that way.
Yeah.
That's great. Really great. We have a little bit more time. We have a couple more questions in the chat. Jackie has a question about time tracking. Do you all have any tools that you use for time tracking? Ideally with minimal financial investment. So she's saying that she has a rolling Word document right now or a piece of paper, which works, but she's looking for a new app or something that'll make it a little bit easier for her.
We use the app Clockify. I use it to track time of my employees, but I use it for myself to time how long it takes to make things. And you can put in different like activities in there, and there's an app for it and a website. And you can use a timer. I think it has a timer feature too. So you can like start and stop the timer when you're doing stuff. And it depends what you're doing time tracking, like what the purpose of it is. If it's determined costing, that's one that like I would also recommend having a spreadsheet that like where you can like then list out all that stuff so you can see how much it's costing you in time to make things and make sure your pricing is right. But if you're doing it for payroll reasons, then Clockify is good.
Time tracking is one thing where I go holistic, I go big picture and then I go microscopic, and I switch into those gears a few times a year and reassess like when I'm thinking about prices, but I don't let it derail me and like focus in on it. And then that like time tracking is now another thing I'm keeping up with in my business, which is like me being protective of my brain space. And that's just me. I just go big and I go small and then I'm done.
I think I'm pretty similar.
Proceed. And I've over the summer, like talking to people and they're like, what, you make your living doing this? And then they started like grilling me about, I think you can tell what kind of people these like started grilling me about my time tracking. And I was like, hey, back off. Like, I just want to say I did figure it out, like, and I am doing the thing. So you can just like stop with this.
Mhm. Mhm. I use personally I use one, Cynthia, who's on here, recommended it. It's called Toggle. That's a good app as well if you want to kind of use it as a baseline to track like how long it's taking you to do certain tasks. It's a good way to do that. And it's on my phone, and when I'm doing certain things, I kind of can log in for certain tasks, and then that way I know how much time I'm spending on average. And that, impacts pricing and all those things too. So, and I'll put that, I'll put that in the chat. I thought I would just add that one because we're talking about apps. So Adriana asks, are there any tips for avoiding burnout when you're in full-blown production mode for the holidays?
The question of the hour.
I know.
It's like you can be burned out from production and from trying to do the marketing, trying to do all the things, right? So any tips, anything that you guys do to kind of help with that, to alleviate that?
I like to think, sometimes I like to do like a little split mind exercise, and I think about what kind of boss I wish I had. And then I am that person for myself, and I'm showing up for myself. So I'm buying like really good snacks. Last year was the year where I bought like a box of like cold brew, put it in my studio fridge, and I felt like my boss loved me, which was me, but this is what I do. Then I'm so proud of it. I also like to plan. I like to know how I'm going to decompress. I'm very rewards driven. So I plan some like big thing at the end. One thing I think about is if you don't set goals or set limits, you don't know when you've succeeded. So that's like a mental reward also. Otherwise, you're just like a hamster spinning your wheel forever and ever, and everyone will suck your soul out. So just showing up for yourself with treats, rewards, and some watermarks to hit.
The allowing yourself to reach the goal, right? I suffer from what I call dogged aspirationalism. It's like just this always forward, always more, and I realized luckily some time ago that if I didn't stop and recognize the successes, that I just was plowing my face into the ground. And so absolutely stopping and realizing what you're doing. And I know that's a lot more about just how you, like you said, Liz, you're speaking to yourself, but stopping and, and realizing what you're producing, looking at what you've made and stepping back and going like, wow, that's incredible. Let me take the afternoon off and, go paddleboarding. That's my thing. I love to paddleboard, and you paddleboard out to where there's nobody, and you open a cold beer and you just realize that the world is different than your studio.
Yes.
But yeah, I do think setting goals and the way we treat ourselves, even if we're still working, is hard. Can be a huge help.
I agree with that. Liz, I love that idea of like thinking about how you would want your boss to treat you and doing that for yourself. That's so good. That's so good.
Very good.
And I would say prioritizing rest during holiday season, because like I'm pretty sure nobody, like we all make beautiful things. It's not life or death for any of our products, right? Like nobody's dying because you didn't make the last ring or skirt or mug. Like it just is not happening.
Right.
And at some point you have to say, my health is more important than slogging out that last thing.
Yep.
And I take Thursdays off because I work on Saturday and Sunday, every Saturday and Sunday from now until the week before Christmas. So I take Thursdays off. I don't do anything. Sometimes I get a haircut, but like I'll go for a hike, I'll bike ride, a walk, I'll lay on the couch and watch TV if it's one of those weeks. But like I sometimes have to force myself to not do work on Thursdays, because I have lived too many holiday seasons where by the end of it, I'm crying. I've sold all the things, I've made all the money. I'm crying, I'm emotional. I like can't get off my couch because I'm so
Yeah.
exhausted.
Or
And I don't
like
want to
you're
be that
sick.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't want to be that person anymore.
Yeah.
And then taking it all the way back to something that we talked about earlier, plan. You have to plan for holiday. You have to forecast, look at what you did last year, add whatever percentage you think you're going to grow, and forecast it. Get ready for it in
Yep.
advance. Don't wait until now
Yep.
Right.
or start now. Don't wait until November
Yeah.
to start making
Yep.
things for holiday. You got to get in front of it.
Yep.
So
I've been,
And-
you go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, I love that we're all talking about crying. It's so important to talk about. Like the and I didn't know everyone cries after Christmas. I thought that was just me. And also I'm like a big crier in public too, so that's like extra good. And that's always my goal, is to not have a breakdown. That's like literally, that is my biggest Christmas goal. And then below that is like meeting expectations and making customers happy and hitting all the deadlines. And I just want to put this out there too. After like so many intense years where I felt depleted for maybe like a whole month afterwards, I'm on this law of averages kick, y'all, where I'm trying not to do it all in December. I'm trying to do a little bit more all the time and feel more normal. Like my thing is, like, last year was the first Christmas season I still cooked dinners. Like I never touched a dish or cooked dinner years prior. My household knew I was like off limits. And last year I was like able to participate in my family, which was
Amazing.
you know, it was good. And I feel like the numbers still like pretty good. So who knows? Chilling out sometimes. That's my point.
And also, like, deciding, for me, back to the Lysandra and all of our talks about planning, is like knowing when your last day of work is, right? Setting it, giving yourself that gift. Do not let it go into infinity, whatever that means for you, knowing when the last day of work is, and then backing out from that and being like, okay, what happens for me to get to the last day of work to honor that day? Custom orders have to be way back here, whatever, but all the things that you have to do, shipping, last shipping is this, and all that kind of thing, just to kind of give yourself that, like, really, truly, like, I'm going to stop and be done and rest.
yeah.
Right. And it's not too late to do those plans now, right? I mean, you just have
No,
to do
not at
the
all.
chunk of what you can get done ideally and plan for this, the remaining time that we have left until that time, kind of plan backwards, as you said. If there's a day that you're going to stop working, plan backwards the things that you want to get done, even if they're one or two small things, for the season. And you can reflect on for next year, maybe do something different or do something more for the next year. I have one more question just about your marketing, because we're actually all out of time, but do either of you outsource any of your marketing, or do you do it all yourself?
All in-house.
Yeah, all in-house. What about you,
Yeah.
Liz?
Nobody even will take a picture the way I want them to take the picture. I mean, which is like
I love that.
a great place to start, right? Because it's
Yeah.
not like it's a like one step removed from being on the front line.
Sure.
But one thing I do outsource, which isn't market. Oh, this is my genius move last year, is I hired somebody to check people out at like my busiest shows, and then I could talk to them. And so that was amazing marketing time, and I could breathe and think and be helpful and make relationships. And I was like, oh, this is the work I should be doing. I can
Absolutely.
hire a teenager.
I think that's brilliant. I really do.
Yeah. No, I do too.
Yeah.
I just got like my big trick. I mean, that's going to be my big takeaway.
Yeah.
Life hack.
Yeah, no, for real. So I do want to answer that question, because I think I'm a little different. I have had help in the past. I am currently doing doing most of it myself, or really doing all of it myself, to include photography. So it's so interesting. Like, I had somebody who was helping me with photography and helping me just kind of build kind of how I wanted to talk about things, right? Because I don't know, for me, it was amazing to have somebody to play things off of. And I'm super grateful for that experience with her, even though, because now without her, I've learned so much. And I just went through a really huge marketing campaign for me, for my business, by myself, you know, and it was kind of amazing because I was like, oh, I did it, you know, and I got to the end and I achieved the goals that I wanted to achieve, and all of these things happened. So I would say, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but both of those approaches are fine, right? To do it fully yourself, because as Liz said, and I know Lysandra the same, you know, you have that creative control, right? You get the image the way you want it, you get all the things. But also, if it helps you to have somebody that you're playing ideas off of, or that they're taking your ideas and helping you be concise, for example, right? Because I can be like, blah, 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 you know, and I might need somebody to help me knock it down. So don't be afraid to get help if you can find it and you feel good about it.
Yeah, I will say that I don't do my model photography myself. I'm not a photographer. That is not my gift. And I hire somebody to do that piece for me. But I do all of the content creation. Sorry, there's an ambulance if you guys can hear that.
I had my partner build my website for me, and then I plugged in. He would ask me for the information that he needed, and this was like deep pandemic style, where like the pots were what got us through. So it was like really nice partnership, and I think that is also a great thing to outsource, where like the framework was ready for me, and all I had to do, and I did hire a photographer for that, like for my made to order dinner work. So it was like very static stuff, and then I was able to plug in, and they just set up all the like framework.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we definitely, I think artists definitely like to be in control of most things. I will say that, it's which is not a bad thing, but it can be in some aspects, right? I think we will wrap up here. And thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your experiences, sharing that with us this afternoon. It's so appreciated to our community, to Triangle Artworks. And we really enjoyed having all of our participants here, all the great questions that came through. So thank you all so much for joining us today. And we'll see you after we stop work, I guess, for the holidays, maybe. We set that day for ourselves. I think we're all hunkered down now, trying to get through it. So I really, really appreciate the time, because I know we're all really, really busy now. So thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Thanks.